Some days we're the beach.
Shiitake mushrooms. Did we just disconnect?
We're coming back. Don't worry.
Some days we're the whole hive.
It is now recording. We have levels.
And today we are definitely doing all the jobs.
Hey guys, you're getting some behind the scenes if you are just joining us. This is what filming a podcast from home looks like, or from a built-in at-home studio. We love it. We're journalists. This is how we do things. This will give us a nice two-shot, kind of. Yeah. There we go. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, we're in it.
We're in it.
Welcome to Honeypod, where the chaos is sweet and the stories are real. This episode is brought to you by Madrala Law Firm and TrueCore Wellness.
All right, hey guys, if you are watching us live right now, welcome to our behind the scenes of shooting an episode for the Honey Pod. I am joined with Cabria Kirby today. Cabria and I work together at the station over in Vegas here.
Vegas girls.
We are Vegas girls. So Cabria, we worked together for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then I left, you stayed in, and then recently you left also, and you started a whole new career.
Whole new career. I said, win 2 Emmys and just wrap it up.
That's it. That's what we do. We win Emmys and then we start new careers.
And then we go next. Yeah. So it's been great though. Honestly, it was a very unexpected change. And when I left the news, I had no idea what I was going to do. I felt like I kept climbing in the industry, and then it was like seeing all the changes around me. I was like, this is getting scary.
Yeah.
What does this look like beyond this point? And I was still young at the time, still only 26. So made a career change before I even turned 25, which was great. And so when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, like I went to school for journalism all my life. That's all I ever knew. Like I knew from a young age that I wanted to be in journalism, and I still love it. Still love telling stories and still love being able to like have the ability creatively and, technically to do these things. But I just, after those 2 years, I was like, and I don't know if maybe it was just kind of what I was doing that I wasn't like super motivated after that. I just felt like I was coming in and doing my gig, and I was doing it good, but I was like, what else? What else do I do? And so when I kind of felt this shift, I was like, okay, I feel like now I got to propel. Like if I'm going to do it now. Just get going. So I just started kind of thinking, and my childhood job was always to be a teacher. Like
Really?
when I was little, I had a whiteboard in my room. I was always like playing teacher. It was like my thing. And so I was like, oh my God, am I going to be a teacher? So I, made some connections, and I found this charter school. It's a Title I school. So I'm getting to work with like kids who don't really get the opportunity to be, surrounded by great opportunities and good people, and just kind of giving them a leg up on things that they've never had in life. So I got that opportunity, and I took over as the video production CTE teacher. And then I took over all of the yearbooks. So I had never done that before either. So that was fun. It was very different. I was like, I don't really know graphic design, but I think I can figure out a yearbook. So just, it kind of was the perfect like Cinderella story that I got to go into this childhood dream of teaching. And now I've been there 2 years, and this year has just been even more fun because so much of what I do is taking everything that I learned in the news and making the kids learn it. And Siri, girl, I get to take everything that I learned, and they get to kind of morph it into their own thing. And so they compete in film festivals. This fall, I had 4 students win.
Wow.
So that was amazing. And there's just like a different kind of joy when you see younger kids being able to do it. And they have a new spin on what video production or journalism is. So that's fun.
Let's go back a little bit, because last year you asked me to do something.
You were like, what? And we did it.
So for anybody who doesn't know, I did make a career out of this for 10 years, right? Being on camera, but I don't like being in front of a crowd. Like, I would speak to a camera and that's it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not in front of people. I'm not really speaking. I don't know how many people are watching. I don't listen to how many numbers of people are like on us.
Yeah.
It's different, right? And so you asked me if I can come in and speak to your class.
Yeah.
But by all the photos, Cabria, I was convinced, okay, that you taught younger kids, okay?
Oh, no.
Well, the photos I've seen were young kids. And then so you said, okay, come speak to my class. So I'm thinking like 20 kids, 30 kids. Like I can manage that, right? I walk in and they walk me into an auditorium.
You're like, I'm doing this. I'm speaking today.
Why would you do that? Well, you knew why, because I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is
I was like,
exactly
no,
what
you got
said.
this. Can't reveal all the details, but I knew you'd
not
be
at all.
great.
You did exactly what the news does to you. You said,
Exactly.
I'm going to give you just enough to go out there and just show up.
And then home run.
everything. And home run. But you know what? I'll tell you this. As afraid as I was coming up after a TED Talk speaker. And so
Yeah.
that was already intimidating, right? This guy had like all his notes. And I'm like, oh, I did not prepare like this for a whole auditorium of like 6 classes. This is wild. And then interestingly enough, they had like the round table afterwards.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was expecting everybody to kind of crowd around all the other tables because they had great stories. And I look up and I have a full table of kids. And I was like, oh, wow. And you guys are teenagers. Like, I am petrified of high schoolers. And you have me in a high school.
I'm like, you got this. They loved you. It was a hit. It was a hit.
They did. I love that you took me out of my comfort zone. But this is the year. That's exactly what I've been doing this past year, right? It's been putting myself in situations where I am so uncomfortable and just saying yes, right? Like I said yes to the Polish festival to MC that. And I'm like, what did I actually say yes to, right?
Like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like,
I've MC'd before, but I don't know.
I've MC'd once before, and it was like years ago in Kentucky and never again. And
you're like, but I will do it. I'm saying yes.
I said yes. But you know what? That led to clients, that led to new connections, that led to more people that I made friends with in the community. So I'm starting to really put myself out there in ways that I feel like in news I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Because I had to keep a certain decorum too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there was just a different kind
Not
of...
letting yourself sway too much this way or that way, or let everybody see who the real you is. And so I think that's cool too. And it's part of the change in getting out of the industry and realizing I don't have to conform to this name or label or who I am on the TV. I get to be me, authentically yourself.
Absolutely. And I think, in news, it's not that I wasn't authentically myself. There were times where I feel like I could, right? There were stories that I put my heart and soul into those stories. And we know that. But it's just, there's still things that I had to report on, that certain things I didn't believe in or I didn't trust. And it's like, it is what it is. That's the assignment. You go out there and you do it. I don't necessarily miss news, but I do miss like the connection part of it, right? And so I think when I'm putting myself into these new situations where I'm so uncomfortable or in uncharted waters, I'm like, okay, we will just make some new connections. This will all work out.
Yeah, new connections, new opportunities, new chances, and you just have to be open to it. And I think we've both done that. And the change that we've taken since news is like every time is going to look different.
Yeah.
And every experience is going to feel different. And we're going to learn something new out of every single one that we do. And so I think that's what makes it special. And news kind of conforms you for that and prepares you for it. You might get to a scene and it's not what you thought it was. Or you get to a story and it's not what you thought it was. So just being able to adapt, that's one of the main skills that I felt like even when I switched to the classroom, like because I did so much of that in the newsroom and like working on quick deadline and making adjustments and when things weren't right, like now I'm like unfazed in the classroom. They're like, it's so hard. I'm like, what? I did this every day. So it's definitely a change, but it's been great.
What has been the hardest part for you moving over from news into the classroom?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me was just, the news really was like a team. And it's like your newsroom was your people. And so when you get into the classroom, like everybody has their own island, essentially.
Okay.
So it's a little bit challenging in the sense that like I'm a people person. Like I worked with all the producers sitting right next to me and I got to see all of my talent right in front of me. Like everything was very like, if you were on the evening team, you knew you were on the evening team.
You were right there.
And so I think sometimes in the school portion, I try and take that mindset, but I realize that like everybody who went to school to be a teacher is taught to like, your classroom is your zone. Nobody has to be in your way. Do what only you want to do. And so I sometimes struggle and I'm like, hey, collab with me.
I need some
let's do something. So I think that for me is probably the biggest change and one of the hardest things. And I know, and I try and do it because I know when these kids get into the job field, they're going to need that.
Absolutely.
They're going to need connection. And so my job as a teacher is I try and go, okay, we're not in this isolated bubble. Like we should be, as video production, collabing with business. We should be collabing with hospitality. Is there something that we can showcase for them as video production to mingle the two classes to where these kids are not going to get into their first job and go, oh no, we only work by ourselves.
Right.
Because that's the other part, that if I feel that in the teaching world, like, I want to nix that so these kids don't feel that. I want them to feel like everything is collaborative and it's a growing process. And whatever job field you take on, you're gonna have to work with people you don't like, but teamwork is a part of it. And so that, for me, navigating the teaching world and those who went to school to be teachers and us who come from like corporate backgrounds, it's very, very different. So the teamwork part is something that I feel like was the biggest shock for me, but also something that I continuously have to work. And then all the acronyms, all the testing, I'm like, I just want to teach video production. I don't know PSAT, SWAT. I don't know. I'm like, what are we saying? I'm like, I don't know. And all these teachers are like, that means this. And I'm like, got it. I'll work on that.
It's almost like you've got a niche.
It's a whole new lingo. I'm like, I know in video production and news, we're like a VOSAT and a VOSAT-VO and a full package and a stand-up, and like nobody would know what that means. I felt like that walking into the school. They're like, in the SWAT and the PSAT, FMA, what? I'm like, I don't, what does that even stand for? So the lingo, I'm still getting the lingo. Year 2, I'm getting better.
Okay, but listen, year 2, like, you've already kind of went over the hump.
Yeah.
You're still in it. You're still committed to it. And I love that what you're doing is kind of mixing the two worlds together, right? Because to hear that you're getting these kids in front of film festivals and to hear like how you're collaborating with different businesses, that is something that, when we talk about on the podcast with some of these people who have left news and are now in the field of teaching, they're like, that is the first thing we're teaching people like in college. But you're doing it on a high school level. Because I feel like that's the one thing that we were never taught in news, right? It was like, here's what you can do. Here's the next thing that you should be looking at. Here's how you should be collaborating. And I think you have to be like a jack of all trades in news. And most people don't realize that, right? Like, you have to know a little bit of everything.
Well, and now it's not even so much like these kids want to get in news, but they want to be a content creator, or they want to be, some sort of voiceover person, or they all have different. It's not like the traditional, like, I want to be on TV. Like, you rarely get that in my class. Like, a lot of them want to understand, like, streaming or podcasting. So it's like you're teaching so many different realms. And just even inside of that, like, you have to learn how to do your own social media. You have to learn how to market yourself. So we're teaching, like, video production, but with layers of podcasting and, photography even, and graphic design and all these other layers that build to really build like a multimedia career is more so what I try and tailor my class to, because that's the age we're in. It's multimedia. You're sitting here doing this podcast, but you're also editing it and you're making sure the audio is good. You're the audio person. You're the graphic designer. You're the videographer. You're the lighting director. You're everything.
I love that you know that. So welcome to the behind the scenes, guys.
Hey, everybody, we do it all.
Including painting the wall and actually
and you're the interior designer too. So, and that's really what I try and tell the kids is like, you're everything. And in this world of media, if you want to be in it, there's so many great things and there's so many things to learn, but you're going to be a lot of hats. You're going to be this hat, you're going to turn it around, and now you're the interior designer, you're the talent, you're the lighting director. So you have to be ready for it all. And I think just being able to teach that and letting them know, be versatile. You might get a job where you only have to do one thing.
In news, you're unlikely going to be asked to do 20 things.
You're going to be asked to do 20 and get them all in at 5. And don't be late.
Because then you're going to get written up.
And that's how it goes.
Absolutely. So let's go back to a little bit before you got this great career. Let's go back into the news world. Where were you in kind of the last 6 months of your news career? Why? I would have never thought that you would leave news. Even with you looking at like schools, I knew that you were still in school. You were getting your master's. You were definitely busy. You were juggling that while also working a full-time job. So you were... And unlike Vanessa, so we're not going to pick on Vanessa, but Vanessa would say and on the podcast, episode 3, she's like, I knew that you guys were news people because you loved breaking news. And you loved breaking news.
I did.
Right? And
I love me some breaking news.
Breaking news, right? So we're talking to a breaking news person.
Breaking news girly right here.
You could pivot on
Yeah.
a swivel, right? Like as she said, and on the fly. And like you said, no matter what happened or what kind of was thrown at us, you were able to navigate it. Where do we go from that to saying we're leaving? Because I thought you were looking at other newsrooms.
So I did. I did look at other newsrooms, and I think I kind of just got into an internal thing where, and it was nothing against what was happening here, but I just started to look bigger picture. And I was actually happy. Like, even till my very last day, like,
Mhm.
I was smiling. I didn't leave with
Yeah.
like a bad taste in my mouth. I didn't leave like, oh my God, I feel like I should have done more. Like, I went to work every day and felt like I gave it my all. And so that's something that I can say, like, regardless of the career change and whatever happened and wherever the industry goes, like, my internal gut was like, I know what this is turning into, and I don't know what this looks like for me after. And I'll be honest, like, I didn't love the schedule. The schedule was a big thing for me, and I made it work. And like you said, I was in school, and I also coached cheerleading on the side, and I was full time at the station producing one of the biggest shows that we had at the time.
Mhm.
And so that for me was very, very hard. Like, I felt like I constantly, and my whole family's here. So, having to pick, like, what's your favorite holiday? Which one do you want off? It's like, no, I want them all off. I want to be with my family for all of them. Like, I don't want to pick which one. I want them all. Oh, wait, I can't have that? Okay, no. So the scheduling, I felt like, was a big thing for me. And in the last 6 months, as I started to get older, I was like thinking about life and thinking about things that mattered most to me. And, family was really, really big for me, and quality time. And so I felt like the news between those two things was like the centerpiece of like where the pull was happening. As much as I would try to like be really in it and then also like be really in it for my family, you're just constantly, it's a tug of war. News is 24/7. Even when you leave, what's happening? What's channel 5? What's this channel doing? Do we got to follow this?
Everybody.
Yeah, because it's like, even when you're at home, you are looking at the email, you're waiting for the push alert, you're seeing what the story was. You got to follow it, because then the next day, if you're a day behind on the info, then you look crazy. So it was like there was no turn off button. And so in the last like 6 months of, and I did think about resigning, but I was like, okay, well, maybe I need to be an executive producer, and that role just wasn't going to open up at the time. There was no growth for that, and the station didn't see that plan for me. And so that was my other thing, was like, okay, how long do I stay just doing what I'm doing? And I felt like I had proved myself. I won 2 Emmys very quickly,
Sure.
and not a testament of like, oh, I'm great, but I was a hard worker.
You were.
And I did chase the story, and I tried to be, very like on it.
And proactive.
Proactive,
Very
yeah.
proactive, because you came up with segments, you came up with,
Well,
like
and just new
produce
innovative ways to
showcase
showcase.
stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think when I kind of felt that, and I was like, okay, even the next position for me would be an executive producer. That wasn't available at the time at the station. So I was like, okay, so what do? You just stay here for a year, 3, 4? Like, how long do you go before you're like, okay, I didn't really get a raise, still working the same hours, getting no holidays, and, all these things. And the station was great. They did accommodate me going to school, and I appreciated that. And, being able to do all those things. And it was never a knock on that. It was just, what does future look like?
Right.
And I've always been a big picture thinker. And that's like, even though I'm only in year 2 of teaching, I've already got my eye on the next thing. And that's kind of how I've always lived my life, is like, you have to continue to grow. And I love learning. Like, I've always been in school, still am in school, going back to school for another master's degree. So I don't take it lightly on growth. And as much as I thought the station wanted internal growth, I felt like I was stagnant there. And it didn't matter how many ideas I pitched, and how many segments I would put together, and how many story ideas I would bring, and how much I would push a team together or make something work. It just didn't feel like it was really reciprocated on that end. So in the last couple of months, I was like, I can't stay level. I can't stay level. I've been here for 2 years, and it's been level.
Yeah.
And I did get better and better. And, at the end of the 2 years, I was really, really proud of what I had done, going in with no experience.
But you need to be challenged.
Yeah. And I felt like when I got to that point, I was just doing the day to day. I came in and I did a great job. But to me, that didn't fuel my passion of like, why'd I go get this master's? What was I going to do with it? And what if there was no executive producer job? And even moving out of state, I wrestled with the idea, because I was like, If I move out of state, then I'm far away from my family, which was one of my core values. I wanted to be with my family. So then I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make any sense. And okay, and even if I made more money, I don't have my family now. So it was these battles that I was going through and just going, does this really make sense? Or is this the time where I go, okay, if I'm making the change, let's do it
Now's
now.
the time.
Yeah. And I think that's just what it was. And I really am proud of what I did there. And I still carry it with joy. Like the kids ask all the time, like, oh my God, you won an Emmy. That's so cool. And it's like, I'm proud of it. Like the
should
work
be.
was great. And at the time we had a great team and a powerful group that was, propelling all towards the same direction. And it's just the way the timing kind of worked out and the things that I valued at the time, I felt like didn't really line up. And so I just had to make the move, make the leap.
I love that for you.
Let's talk about that Emmy, Cabria. I think one of them is the same Emmy that I have, right? Because it's this. We're on the school shooting
Yep.
Emmy, right?
Yeah.
And the other one?
That was the strip stabbing with
Okay.
showgirls. So that was a pretty crazy day. Honestly, I don't really I felt like everything went so fast that day. We didn't really know. And then we just got there and I mean, I was one of the main, I was just like, what do we need? What do we got to do? That was the team player in me. I just jumped in wherever I was. And usually I just got kind of thrown right into the booth to just start searching and getting everything ready and making sure talent knew what was happening. But both stories, obviously very, very sad situations. So it's always crazy when someone's like, you won an Emmy. And I'm like,
Yeah, but we won an Emmy.
yeah. And it's hard because you're proud of the work that was done on that day to deliver the news the right way. But a lot of people don't get what goes into that day.
Sure.
And even the school shooting, it's like, that was a very crazy day and it started very early in the morning. And I remember that one vividly. I was, I went to UNLV and I was one of the first person in the newsroom and I got my old UNLV safe app was going off and I was like, something's happening.
Mm.
And that was literally it. That's all I said in the newsroom. Something's happening at UNLV. We need to get there. And literally from that moment on, we knew. Then the scanners went crazy. Everything went crazy. We had crews out there all day long. We were doing, live hits on ABC and just coordinating that day in the newsroom. And I know for you guys in the field, that was even, you're like, where do we go?
Wild.
What do we do?
I think it was crazy for us because again, we were getting so much misinformation. And so we didn't know what we were reporting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to make sure that our verbiage was very, we
tight.
Were
We just didn't say what we wanted.
We can't just say certain things, or if we did, we had to say this is what we're hearing and we had to attribute it to everybody.
Yep.
So I think that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize. When we're out in the field and things are literally unfolding, that we're intaking information from the police, but we're also intaking from what are you guys hearing at the station? Because you guys are likely having a clear conversation with PIOs than we are, who are out in the field, kind of in the moment. But then we're hearing what these parents were saying too. And so in the meantime, we were hearing one person was dead. We were hearing that there was 3 shooters at some point.
Yeah.
So it was just and I'm we're all sending information back and we're like, can you confirm this? This is what we're hearing. We don't have and we're all separated, right? And you're just kind of on an island, like you said, by yourself. And that day, I mean, we were all separated, right?
Yeah.
Videographers and reporters that couldn't get to each other.
And they're separated and split up and streets
it was
away.
14-hour workday for me. I think we were working with the Review Journal ended up helping me and making sure that I was plugged in because some of my camera equipment was failing because we didn't have enough
battery and storage
and stuff. So it's just when you talk about a team, it goes beyond just our own newsroom sometimes.
Yeah.
It really is the
whole unit,
of
everybody
who's working there. I love my family, right? Because then they call me and they're like, are you safe? And they're worried, right? And so they've learned too, when is the time to call? When is the time to just literally tune in on the live? And
just let it go.
Just let it go and watch and just say your prayers.
Yeah.
But I definitely get those text messages, and I'm sure, all of us do. Kind of how are you holding up? What are you doing?
Yeah. And those days are hard. And then it's there, you still have to come in the next day.
Yeah.
And you have to then continue that story of, with being there 14 hours plus now there's 6 follow-up stories to that. And that was an everyday thing for all of us. And so it did take everybody really working together the Emmy coverage didn't just go from that night.
No.
That was stories and uncovering and digging and searching and surfing and photos and aftermath. It was everything.
Yeah.
And so I think too with, Emmy wins, they're great, but when they're these stories, it's different for us because we know what went into it.
Yeah.
We know what that 14-hour day was like, and delivering a good product that told that story clearly and concisely despite the horrific situation. And it was the same thing with the strip stabbing, two showgirls walking down the street, cuckoo crazy pants, stab, stab, stab. And then, the next thing is, okay, she stabbed. Where are we going? What hospital? What do we do? How do we get to the next part of this story? It's like, that's one scene. There's another scene. Where's the showgirl director? Like, these girls walk around the strip. It's 11 p.m. It's 2 in the afternoon. Like,
Right.
where do they even go? They just appear randomly on the strip. So that was another story that took a lot of legwork too, and a lot of digging, because it had never happened before. It's not your typical.
It's also, again, that goes back to like the many hats we wear, right? Or like the jack of all trades. We never know what we're going to be on. And so there are stories that we've done, like the school system, and we know who to call right off the bat. Okay, we call this one, we call this one, we call the PIOs for the fire, police, hospitals even. But anything past that, like,
Yeah, you're like,
okay, what is this? Who am I calling? Like,
yeah, we were like, we're on the strip, first of all, which is governed by
who, and then who are we calling for the video for that? Who are we? Like you said, who are we?
Traffic cameras? Are we? Right. We're on this random escalator. Like, it was a whole thing. But another day where coverage just really shined. And I thought we were gonna actually win a third one when we covered that law office shooting. I think you had already been gone by then, but the one in Summerlin. And we were on that pretty quickly. And I thought we actually had a chance of winning that one. But I mean, everyone's doing the coverage. And so at the end of the day, you're in competition with everybody that's in town. So, and even still to this day, like, really proud of the work that was done that day, because that was, another long day. It started at 9 a.m. with, oh, it's weird, town center and is closed. And we're like, the heck, on the traffic cameras? And then it turns out to be this massive starts as story. Nothing, and then it's everything.
Yeah. I was in a completely different story, and not the day of the school shooting too, right? And I just remember Terry calling, just get here. And I was like, can you give me no information? Just get here.
You're like, oh.
And I was like, okay. And then the push alerts start coming in. The push alerts are coming in. And so for me, again, I was isolated. I was at this like great corner where I could see everything from SWAT to like the helicopters. And, so you guys got great footage. I had the officer that like shoved the mom too. So that went viral. ABC was taking all of that video. But I couldn't get you guys any kind of live hits until I think it was almost like 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, when somebody was able to get to you.
Yeah, and so I think of that. We were up. I was already at the station by 9. Yeah. By 9:30, 10 o'clock, I was at this I was at a different story. Then at UNLV in 20 minutes, and then you're just like till 10 o'clock, till 11 o'clock, and then like you said, the next day I was back on that campus at 8 a.m.
Yeah. Right there, getting the next story and getting the video and the aftermath and everything that went with it. So. Yeah. It was just a nonstop clock. But there are
days that are, like you said, like the nonstop clock. And then there are the days like the other Emmy that I won was for the Fallout series, right? Yeah. Where that was done, to the point of like, if you want to tell this story, you're going to have to tell it on your own time and then turn other stories. In the
You're like, darn it.
I was like, okay, but we're going to commit to this. Yeah. And I am so thankful for Terry Foley because like when she signed on for this, she didn't sign on for this. But
she was like, what?
She's like, well, okay. But her dad she had a connection to that, right? Her dad was a downwinder. So she's like, I remember these stories from the 90s. And so she fought for the first one and then it did so well. And then she's like, okay, we have to go on and do a second one, then a third one. And then they wanted to like cut it off. And every story we kept coming back.
Yeah, it was more stories.
It was more stories. And they're like, no. And we heard no after no after no. And I'm so thankful to her as well, because it was just a few of us in this like little pod who just kept going back and saying, we need to tell this story. Yeah. But this is another angle that needs to be told. And I'm so proud of that work. And even when we submitted, I only had like a half an hour to submit. I had to completely eliminate the last fifth.
You're like, darn it.
I was like, darn it. I was like,
time limit's not long enough.
All of it was great, guys.
Yeah.
But again, all of that was going to just see Oppenheimer. And then from that, it just like going down a rabbit hole of like, I've never heard of this. We haven't talked a single time about this.
Yeah.
And it was perfect timing because it was the RICA Act was starting to kind of,
Yep.
go into, like, it was starting to dwindle out. They were trying to get rid of it. We had a lot of these laws on the books that were trying to they were trying to get rid of the nuclear plant out here. They were trying to figure out if they were going to reopen it or not. So it was just perfect timing and
great characters.
And nobody wanted to do it. And so but you know how it is in news. You get some stories and you're like, this will be great. And nobody talks.
Yeah.
And then this one, I swear to God, I had people out in Japan calling me
and
being like, we will talk, but we need to do it on this day.
Yeah.
And it just, there was no time. Right.
Yeah.
And so if I could have done breakout stories after breakout stories, that could have turned into a podcast all in
there we go.
But that's the thing, right? So you have the days where you're working 24/7 on breaking news. And then you're getting home to work on a passion
special project. Yep.
So it never ends. It never. I slept in the newsroom on days just to make sure.
I know you'd be like, I'm gonna leave my dress right there. I was like, oh no, it's a weekend. She's gonna be here for a minute. I'd get there, like, the heck?
Did you go
It's my
home yet?
on-call weekend. What are you doing here? It's just editing. Just editing. Okay.
It's just easier here. The internet's faster here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nonstop. I got up at like 5 a.m. just so I could get the sunrise perfectly with the
There
drone
you go.
shots.
You were in it. You were dedicated to the shots.
We're like, we are going to get this done. But again, I was like, and it was never about the Emmy.
Yeah.
But
it was a testament to the work in the story.
It is. The story was great. And as the story kept unfolding, and then you're just like, now I'm invested.
Yeah.
Now I want to do an even better job, right? So it's like, well, how can we get creative on the shots? And then you are thinking about you're like, okay, but I can get you guys an Emmy, which means more eyes, which means it's not even like something for me, but it's for all of us.
Yeah.
And I think that was really ultimately kind of what it came down to. Last September, after like months of trying to coordinate, we did get an Emmy party, and I got everybody who was in the Emmy series together behind the scenes on camera. And it was just nice for everybody to celebrate. And like nobody knew each other. And they're all in the Vegas area. They're all connected somehow to this nuclear plant and the fallout of it. And the stories were just incredible. And from that too, like Kumiko is now like, she partnered with the Polish Foundation, and they just had like a night where they brought in like the Polish dancers for one of their like international nights. So again, like going back to what I said in the beginning, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
Kind of what that networking will do. And I'm not a networker at all. It's like pulling teeth with me. Truly.
I feel like you've gotten so much better at it.
Yeah.
But it takes that It takes that like just you gotta go out there and try.
Let's talk about one of my favorite stories, and I'm not even a Swiftie, okay? I am not a Swiftie, and you know this.
Okay.
But one of my favorite stories that I had in the newsroom was the one where I got to use your like megaphone from cheerleading to do this Taylor Swift story. And I was really
randomly just stating like, hello.
I was literally in the news truck, and we took the AccuWeather truck, right? So we're driving around. We have like it's blaring. We have Taylor Swift blaring. Hannah's like, "What are we doing?" And I was like, "Just go along." And we're hyping the crowd.
Like, you gotta be in the moment.
You gotta be in the moment. And it was one of my favorite stories. But we went to Walmart. I went to like Staples. I went anywhere and everywhere I could to find an actual cheer horn. Talk about, again, timing, right? Because I get in, you pull up early to your shift, and I was like, you cheer. Do you happen to have a megaphone? And
I did.
Well, actually.
So let me see right here. It's funny because I even use it at school. Sometimes the kids are like, Miss, seriously? We don't need to hear you throughout. You already talk loud enough. And I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, really? Louder.
So the megaphone still lives on.
I love it. Well, it should live on because all I'm seeing right now is all your cheer stuff.
Yeah.
That was like my roundabout way of getting there. But listen, I always knew that you were in cheer. You were always coaching when you were with us at the station. But now are you more full-time than you were before? What is going on?
So pretty much just like with the flexibility of school, I get to be at the gym a little bit more. Getting out of school a lot earlier makes it more attainable to be there more full-time. Like before, I used to get out of the news at 5:30 and hopefully be there by 6 or 6:15, and then we were done by 8:30. So I only usually got 2 hours with them. Now, I get out of school at 2:30 and I'm to the gym by 4 o'clock. And because of the way the gym is growing and, all the way the kids are developing, we now go to 9 every night. So I'm with them from 4 to 9 pretty much every night. Thursday is my nights off.
Which is why we're
So we
recording
love
today.
Thursday. Hey. But it's been great. The gym has seen growth, and I feel like as like life has grown, and I feel like I've even gotten to be a better coach as I've gotten older. I started with a lot of these kids when I was young, and so they've kind of seen the evolution, and that's in any industry, whether it's teaching or news or coaching or just life, you evolve over time. And so the gym has kind of taken that same form, and the growth has been crazy. And we're doing a lot of exciting things. We're going to hopefully have our first Worlds team next year that'll go compete against other, giant programs. So that'll be exciting. Really, really talented kids this year. I've kind of taken up a new like little coaching kind of avenue to really like hone in on training and technique in the cheer world. Like if you don't do it right, a lot of times you'll get injured. And so this year I've really tried to kind of pull a tight group together to really hone in on like good training, good habits, good technique, and then also teaching a mindset, because so much of being an athlete is really the mental side of it. It's not like, can I flip my body over? It's like, are you mentally tapped in to flip your body over? Because if you're not, we're going to have a problem. Same with stunting. So that's been kind of a fun venture I took on this summer, because I was like, all right, well, I'm not at school and I'm only at cheer, so maybe I should do something. So I'm creating content for that, which is cool.
And then you started a podcast around it.
Yep.
I
Started a
love
little
this.
podcast around it. We have
Talk to me
another
about
little
that.
podcast coming out for the coaches. And there's already, so many cheer podcasts. I mean, there's podcasts about everything. Like everyone has podcasts, and it's so cool because everyone's is so different. We just kind of launched it and kind of figured out what we're going to do. But we really want to show the coaches side of things. So much in cheer. It's like, if you've seen the show Cheer on Netflix, like it's very athlete based.
Sure.
So our kind of twist on it is that we want it to be coach based. Like we want people to know who we are. Like our kids are great and we could do a show about them tomorrow, but like, who are the coaches? What is our job like? What is the
Absolutely.
behind the scenes? What is, when we leave the gym, do we just, all right, it's 9 p.m. See you tomorrow and we'll clock back in at 4? Like, no, majority of our job is like what we said. When you go home, you're thinking about the routine. When's our next competition? How are we going to get these kids ready? How do we make them, more prepared? And so our podcast is going to take a spin on that side of it, because what's already kind of out there, we want to be different and we really want to stand out. And what's unique about our gym is it's run by 2 women business owners.
Nice.
So, and most all-star gyms are, you have the male director as, running the gym. And so it's kind of cool because our elite coaching staff is 4 girls. And so we do really like to push that like women can do anything. And we're trying to show the kids that on like every front, whether it's, coaching, or if you want to be this or you want to be that, like go be whatever you want to be. As a woman, you have that power. You have that ability to go be what you want to be, and nobody can tell you no. And so our podcast is going to be kind of like the funny moments behind coaching, the real moments, like the raw moments, things that people don't really get to hear from.
Yeah.
Not so kid focused, just because the kids are going to do their own thing, but we want to kind of share our coach's story. And it's pretty special because we've been together now for almost 10 years.
Wow.
And so we did talk about kind of getting like a Netflix show started, and we did a whole sizzle reel. And we just really felt like even when we were filming that, it wasn't our authentic self.
Sure.
Like when we were doing the interviews, it felt like very like
interviewing.
yeah.
Very-
And now we did our first run of the podcast yesterday, and it was just natural because it's just us doing this, conversating and letting it go. And sometimes it's funny and you giggle and you stop and you go, that was really dumb. but like that's the moment,
That's it.
And with us 4, we really do spend so much time out of the gym together. Like we go on trips and we travel. And so we were just like, the podcast seems the most fitting for us. So that's our newest venture. We're gonna test it out. The kids are really excited about it. We kind of gave them a little teaser on what to expect. And it's cool because they look up to us, we're their role models. And so when they see something like this, they're like, these are my coaches. So it'll be interesting. That's my next passion project is, when I'm not teaching video production at school, I'm going to be editing a podcast. Don't know how to do it. Going to figure it out. Might have to take notes.
I mean, but listen, that's the thing, right? I think news taught us that. News
Yeah.
said, whatever you don't know, figure it out. And
Yeah.
generally, we were figuring things out on the fly.
Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't know how to edit something, I was literally YouTubing. YouTube
Yeah, you're like, wait,
University
hello?
was my favorite, you
Yeah.
know? So when people are like, how did you get so good? Because I had a time crunch and I had YouTube.
Yeah.
That was it.
You're like, I had a step-by-step on YouTube
That's
because
it.
it got me through it.
Step by step by step. But I'd go home, and outside of just watching these things on YouTube, I would also just go home and then watch them, you know, at home,
Yeah.
and then figure out, okay, if I want to do this. But I also broke it down. So that's a tip for you and for anybody who's in news right now and trying to figure this out. If you're trying to tackle it all at once, you're
Yeah.
going to fail, right? So like pick one thing that week that you really want to nail down,
Yeah.
whether it's your graphics or I don't know, like your reels or your content, and then start to go from there.
Yeah.
And then in terms of editing, just like, okay, this week I want to add more transitions that are,
Yeah.
you know, natural or this or that, and kind of build from there.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then just repetition, because
Yeah.
as you know, nothing gets better without repetition.
Yep. And I think we're kind of going for like, obviously not, you know, we want these to be quick because we want to be able to like multi-platform them. So like, you know, we're filming mini topics that'll be, you know, between 5 and 10 minutes long, which I feel like is a good start. And then
Absolutely.
as they evolve and as they gain traction, maybe it gets longer. But I was like, let's just start with what's attainable. And even yesterday, we were like, okay, we're going to stop ourselves if we go past this limit. And like almost every time we went past it. So I was like, okay, well, this
That's
is
good.
good. That means that we're having like natural, not
Conversation.
forced conversation. So that was really exciting. And, you know, I've never done any sort of like planning of a podcast. So I was like, okay, well, let's just test this out. We'll see how it goes. You know, we'll give it a run, put one version on TikTok and Instagram and another version on YouTube, and we'll see what gains traction and what trends. And so that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to just film it and then kind of multi-platform it and see what works with what. So
And that's
we'll
that's
see
all
how
we
it
can
goes.
do.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, and the thing is, don't get discouraged, because I think going from my first one, we were just talking about this before we went live, you know, going from the first one where I had very high numbers and views and clicks, I gained that following on YouTube, which was
Yeah.
great. And then I kind of took a step back because I went back to news, so I couldn't really follow the mental health stuff as much. And then coming to this, it's like the numbers aren't there. And so I'm
Yeah.
trying, like, don't get in your head either,
Yeah.
you know, because I think I
It's
go
a
back,
growth.
it's a growth, right? And news was the same way. If I
Yeah.
go back to my first years, oh my God, my first market, my
Yeah.
brother would be like, he'd watch me from California on the live stream. He's like, are you even breathing? He's like, did you take a breath? That
You're like,
time?"
no,
I
what?
was like, no, I was like this, right? Okay. He's like, were you breathing? Is
You're like,
that
I was
even
trying.
known?
I don't know. I
don't
wasn't
know
thinking
what I
about
was
it.
doing. Okay. And so you get better, right? It took a couple of months. You kind of, you like frustration and trial and error,
Yeah.
and you keep moving. And then I got to my next market, and then that, like, they sat down with us, right? And they were great about like, okay, this is how you storytell. This is where the camera needs to face if you want the eyeballs to look this way, and this is how you set it up this way. And so we'd sit there and we'd critique each other's work. And that was some of the best stuff that we did,
Yeah.
because we worked together well. And I think in that first news market, if you guys watched the first episode with Toy, we talk about it. Yes, we wanted to compete with each other, but it was such a healthy competition.
Yeah.
Like,
You're like, we want everyone
we
to
want
look good
everyone
and
to
we
look
want everyone to
good.
thrive.
Yeah, and we had our friend who, like, the news director took him off air because he like wanted to punish him because he's like, you don't fit the mold. And so we would step in and we would like help him.
Yeah.
And we're like, no way.
No,
like,
he
you're
needs to be
here.
on air.
He needs to be on air.
Yeah.
And then he ended up getting like the best stand-ups and the
Oh,
best
wow.
sound. And like we learned the things that we knew were the things that he needed help. And
Yeah.
the things that he knew were
You
the things
needed
we
help.
needed help.
Yeah. So
And
it's
so
like we're gonna tit for tat here.
that's it, you know? And so I think find your strengths, find your weaknesses,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to say, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And then tap somebody in who
Yeah.
does, you know? And that's whether it's in news, whether it's podcasting, whether it's social media.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are things I don't know how to do, and I run my own social media company.
Yeah.
I reached out to Jenna Liston, and I was like, Jenna,
Help.
can you do a class on this? Can you tell me how to do this?
Yeah. You're like, wait, what? Yeah. So the podcast thing, and really it's just fun for us because, you know, we're kind of in like this weird, like we've gone so long at the gym and like we've built up like such a culture and such a thing. And like the gym is kind of a well-oiled machine that we're like, we literally go in, we know what we're doing. So we're like, we got to do something that's like fun
Right.
and something that's also manageable because, you know, we are getting into our busy season where we're going to be traveling and, this year we're taking on Atlanta and we're going back to Florida and we're going to Texas. And so the travel's going to be a lot. But we were like, if all we have to do, and we tried vlogging, and girl, no,
It's just a lot of work.
it is so much more. I was like, I will take trying to edit a podcast. I'm no professional, but I will take that over trying to get, and because we're all trying to like incorporate. So it's like, if I'm filming, then I'm not in any of the videos. Then if you're filming, you're not in any of the videos. And so I'm like the mystery ghost. So I'm like, okay, no more vlog.
Have you tried the transitions and the lip syncing? So I have like 1 or 2 videos like that. And listen, they are great. They're great for engagement. And I totally, like 100% I'm for it. Like you guys, if you're out there, businesses, do it. Have fun with it. But do not underestimate how many times or how hard it is, okay? Because these kids make it look so easy. They're like, it's just 1, 2, 3. And we go like this. And we go like this. And I'm like,
when I do it, it's like,
I was like, but I could do that. But then I'm like, but I used to do this in news. So how could I do it there? But
I can't do it.
I can't do it here. And it's the camera angles.
Yeah.
It's the camera angles. And like I feel like a fish out of water. Like you who's trying to learn the lingo. I'm like, I have a whole gosh dang Emmy for videography and editing, and I can't figure out
I can't figure out how to do
video.
The little up and the
vertical video. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard.
My kryptonite. But like horizontal video.
You're like, I can kill that. Yeah,
Good
so
for me.
I was like, no vlogging. We tried that. I was like, no, this is not working. And so we're going to try the podcast thing. I after yesterday, I feel really confident because we did 3 little mini topics. So we got 3 little banked things, and we're going to roll them out each week, and then we'll film our next set. So I feel like, and honestly, I was kind of worried because like we're all cheer coaches, so I thought it was gonna be like, like very loud and like everyone's like, ah! Like how we all talk, but it actually turned out really, really good. So I'm excited about it. I can't say it's gonna be the greatest edit, but I'm gonna do what I know how to do, and we're gonna just test it out and see how it goes. New adventure.
I love it. I love it. I love this for you. I love this. I love watching your Instagram because this is the thing for a lot of us that leave news, right? In news, we know what we're going to get, right?
Yeah.
So I could watch my friends and be like, you did great. You did wonderful.
Yeah.
You were lit up so well, right? Like the lighting was great, woman.
Yeah, slay that live shot.
Slay, girl. But it's different when we're all trying to figure out what our purpose is.
Yeah.
And to see kind of where we are all taking our talents that we had in news or like these side quests that we had and seeing them like come to life for us. That's what I'm loving, kind of enjoying everybody's journey, including my own, which has been up and down, right? Like, but it's appreciating every part of that because even the lows bring me to my highs, And I was just thinking of that as I was coming here. I was like coming from school of ministry, uploading my videos, and I'm like talking to God as I'm coming in here. And I was like, God, where are you leading me? Like, this is a weird season. What is this, right? And I had to go back to, and like the thing that came to me right away was, okay, but when you were in Albany and you were working at Whole Foods and working at Starbucks and you had just left news and you were doing podcasting and the podcast was doing great, but I wasn't making a lot of money. I wasn't even applying to news jobs and the news jobs came to me, including this one. Like Nancy, who found me, who emailed me, like I didn't even apply.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know what.
I was like, who are you? Where did you come from? How did you find me? She goes, your podcast. So I want to say like, truly, until it's time for you to be somewhere, like God will place you right in that moment.
Right where you need to be.
I think for me, like I asked you earlier, what was it that's like the hardest transition? For me, it's been slowing down.
Yeah.
For me, it's been slowing down because I'm so 24/7. Yeah. And this season is not a 24/7 season. It's girl sleep, rest. Yeah. And I'm like, rest.
Rejuvenate. What? Huh? Never had that.
Like skincare routine. What?
Yeah.
Who? That's the one. That's the one I'm having a hard time with.
Well, and I've had to do, like you said, my natural slowdown is the summer when I'm not teaching. And this summer I was like,
what do I do?
I was like, wait, I never get 72 days off, like in a row. Like what am I? Yeah. And I did. I traveled with my sister. I got to go to Iceland, which was beautiful, and just like explore and like not have to think about anything. But I was the same way. I was like, I went from working like 330 days to like, what? I have 72 days off in a row. Yeah. And I don't even have to think about like logging on to do anything or Like once school's out and I pack my classroom up, baby, that's it till August. I'm not thinking about that place. So,
Absolutely.
and that's the natural slowdown is why I think I'll be able to sustain the teaching life. And I am going back to school, hopefully to be a school counselor and get another master's in school counseling. And that's kind of my next step. But even just the life of teaching and like what it naturally does for me is like it is go, go, go for that period of school, the 8 months, 9 months. But then that like good 2 months of like rest, reset, rejuvenate, it's time to go again is what I think I thrive off of.
I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm in a learning season.
That's good though.
It's necessary. It's necessary because I think, again, I grew up in a household too where it was 24/7. And even working for my mom, I joke about it on the first episode, but I mean, my mom would like come behind me and just like whap, whap, right? Like,
You're like,
there was
ooh.
no mercy, right? I mean, in front of the clients, like yelling, like she was no joke. And if you learn to do one thing, you have to learn to do two things at the same
Yeah.
time. And if not two, then three. And if not three, then four. And it was constantly go, go, go. And if she turned around and something wasn't done,
Yeah, go, go.
you better have been holding like something to be sweeping or doing something, so
You're like, oops.
so it's not now. She tells me, she's like, you have to learn to rest, Paulina.
You're like, oh, weird. What?
Rest.
That was not a concept when I was growing
I was
up.
like, do you remember when I was working for you when I was 13? Child labor laws.
You're like, you had me doing everything. So funny.
Oh yeah, Mama B was great. Cabria, let's talk a little bit about kind of what is next. Because you said, okay, you're in the master's, you're doing therapy or counseling.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this plan, because you said you're already thinking about what could potentially be the next thing for you.
Yeah.
Probably
So
school related is what I'm hearing though.
Yep. So I
Okay.
am going to go back to school. I've already been accepted. I'm going to start in the spring. I just wanted to kind of get through, the back to school phase, which is hard because if I start in the fall, I start at the same time I start school. So I usually, when I do take a class, I like to start in the spring just because it gives me a little bit of like lead time to get ready. But this program is going to be about a year and a half. I'll finish with a master's in school counseling. And really my vision behind this is I feel like in the classroom, I know I'm great. And I want to now provide students with the opportunity to know what's beyond that. Getting them in high school, so much of them like, I just want to work. And I'm like, you guys, you're going to have your whole life to work.
Mhm.
Like, and I know so many are eager, like they just want money or they want, they get out of school at 10 and like, what am I going to do now? So I love that there's, work is
There's
the next
drive.
option, but in the way the world is changing, and I feel like this is kind of my call to be a counselor is like, so many students don't really realize that like, you don't have to go to college.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's been, the
norm.
motto for like high schoolers. Okay, go to college. And I know specifically for my school and being a Title I, like most of those kids are not going to go to college. And that's just the reality of some will because they want to provide or break a family. They want to be the first. And so I think for me, it's like the way the world is changing and the way that jobs are going. So many of these jobs are done through trade programs,
Absolutely.
work experience programs. And so my call to be a counselor is not only to just guide them in life and, being a counselor is dealing with hardships and, students that may have other needs that need to be taken care of. And I think I've always had a connection to students. And I've noticed even in the high school, like I find so many times the kids are always coming back to my room, even if it's just for advice. And maybe it's because I'm younger and they know that they can, like
Relate.
whatever they're experiencing, I've probably gone through it 5 years earlier, whereas whoever's up there now is 60 years old or 55. And there's no ding to that because there is a level of experience that also provides. I just feel like the teaching me will last for, I don't know. I just don't see myself teaching video production at age 60.
Forever. Right.
Only because the way the trends change.
Absolutely.
And by 60, I'm going to be outdated. I'm not going to know what the media video production trend is. And so the teacher in me and, the visionary in me is like, okay, how do I propel myself to have a career beyond what video production goes to?
Yeah.
And I do like to stay in tune with what's trending. And, so much of it is being young and being on social media and being able to kind of follow it. But at the end of the day, it's like, even from where
That's not
when I
forever.
left to what it is now has changed so much already.
Yeah.
The counselor avenue is really just keeping me in the school environment because I've realized how much I really do like being around kids. And it's why I love coaching so much. I love being a part of like the growth and the evolution and being a mentor, really, because these kids really need someone to lean on. And especially in the Title I area, a lot of these kids, they go home and they serve the mom role. They serve as dad. They serve as caregiver. They serve as sibling. They are wearing every hat in the house at age 15.
Right.
And so being that mentor and being that like voice of reason sometimes or that person that you can come in and be like authentic with is something that I love. And I do naturally now in my classroom. And I've noticed that kids really lean on that. And so that's this year I kind of saw it more and I was like, maybe this is my sign. And I had thought about it over the summer, but I didn't make any move on it. I was like, let me think, because I dabbled with two things. I was like, do I go back and get a master's in teaching? And I was like, no, but I'm teaching now. Like, what would a master's in teaching do with me? Or how would it evolve me anywhere from where I'm at now? And I was like, no, I need to think bigger. I need to go bigger. I need to have more reach. And I think with my role in the community and being able to like connect with so many different people and getting these kids all these opportunities, like I want to be that in the counseling realm. And so I kind of decided, once the school year started, I was like, I think this is my call. And so I applied. And meanwhile, I'd already been accepted into the other master's teaching program, but I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like, I'm just going to get another teaching degree. I'm already teaching, so I don't really know. I would just be getting a degree just to have an enhancement, which is great.
Sure.
But I was like, if I'm going to get another degree, I feel like it needs to be in something vastly different. Because I got my bachelor's was in journalism, my master's was in communications, and then I have my teaching certification, which is completely different. So I was like, if I'm going to do something else, I need to be in a different realm. And so I'm really excited about it. I'm excited because when I was at UNLV, I took so many counseling classes. I just loved learning how family communication differs from relationship communication and from student communication and from, just families. And so I feel like it's going to be a challenge for me, but it was always something I was passionate about, but never enough to like make it my major. And I didn't want to go and be like a marriage and family
therapist.
Yeah, I was like, that's not for me. And so being in the school setting and then being able to marry something that I really did enjoy, I feel like now it's going to be kind of like that next perfect recipe. And I'm just kind of doing it at my own pace. I'm not in a rush. Like I could be teaching for the next 5 years, or I could be a counselor in the next 2 years. So I'm just letting myself be flexible. Like you said, kind of like I'm not going to cram myself in. I want to allow that slow down and that breathe period. So I'm going to just take the classes as I see them kind of fall in. Should take me about 1.5 years. And that's obviously give or take. I'm not on like I have to get it done by this date. So I'm going to let it naturally flow how it needs to. And it could be a bust. Like I could take the first 3 classes and go, this isn't what I thought what it was going to be. So I'm also just leaning on the fact that like I'm going to trust and I'm going to take the first step and I'm going to see how that goes. And if it doesn't call to me, then it doesn't. And that's okay too. Yeah. So I'm excited, but I'm also open.
I love that. And I love that you brought up the fact that the landscape is changing right now for just school in general, right? Like I want to go back to, I have a bachelor's degree and I am the first one in my family to have a bachelor's degree. But with my bachelor's degree, I managed to make, I think the most $75,000 a year versus my brother with a high school degree and him being able to work in the field that he works in and being a stagehand and a lighting technician. He's pushing well over 6 figures, close to like 200,000.
Yeah.
So when we talk about like a trade school versus what we used to do,
the traditional
route, like do not go the traditional route. My mom's clients too, like everybody saw me on TV, but they had no clue that I was working at Victoria's Secret behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then, waking up for a morning show just to get an extra money because I was making $28,000.
Yeah, you're like, how do you live on this?
And you're just like, how do you live on this? You know, but I was on TV.
Yeah,
and it's so glamorous.
It's glamorous. Yeah, you're like,
and
no,
not at all, actually, because I feel like now, because I'm having to slow down, I'm starting to be like, okay, but what do I like doing? Video production, I think, is really what I'd like to go into. I'm not like totally dismissing storytelling. I'm not totally dismissing being somewhere in the documentary film area. Like that's definitely where I still want to be. but those doors haven't opened.
Yeah.
So until they do, I'm expanding. And so I think this is why I'm like, okay, God's totally slowing me down to be like, well, where are you passionate, little girl?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
let's pick.
what's fueling you?
Yeah.
What's giving you life? I think you said it so well. If I'm gonna do something, then it's gotta be so drastically different.
Yeah.
And this is different.
Yeah.
This was something that would give me so much peace and freedom in the newsroom when I was in Louisiana. And when I stepped away from the church, there was chaos.
Yeah.
And me alone, it's like I am chaos. Okay.
Yeah. You're like, I need a sanctuary.
I need something that's like, and I realized that when I left news, right? Because my mind craved the chaos. It craved the breaking news. It craved the ambulance.
The go.
The go. And so for me, it was really like, it wasn't even like, I'm so bitter at news, I left. No, I had to unfollow because I was so addicted to it.
Yeah, that was the life.
That was the life. It was killing me. I had hair falling out. My body was literally dying on me. I was in the hospital at some point, and I'm just like, but I want to keep going. Why?
Yeah. You're like, no, listen.
Why?
Listen to your body.
Yeah.
Listen to it.
And so it was like, you can't. And so for me, like when I left, it was like, no, everything is out of whack in your body. We got to go back to square one.
Let's recalibrate.
Let's recalibrate. And so it's been a journey, right? Like, and so like that's where School of Ministry came in. I don't know how it's all going to tie in.
Yeah.
But somehow it will.
I think it will.
Somehow it will. Everything's always tied in. I laugh, with Toy that, when I worked in my mom's hair salon, it's like, how was the hair and the makeup going to tie in?
You're like, everyone needs that.
Everyone needs that. And then like, that was the first thing I was helping with in every single news station. Can you help me with hair and makeup? Yes, I can.
You're like, yep, I got you on that.
There you go.
Did that for a minute.
There you go. So it's like you never know how everything combines, how everything will work out. And for me, I'm still working it out, right? So, I mean, do as I say, maybe not as I do. I'm smarter than I act sometimes. I don't always take my own advice. I've noticed there's that, I'm really great at
wise in the mouth. We gotta spread it. We don't take it in.
No.
That's okay.
Sometimes I'm just like, I have to like sit down with myself and have like,
you're like, lock in
because you're telling people, girlfriend, you got to do this too. Well, on that note, Cabria, it has been wonderful chatting with you and coming back to the circle and the pod and to just kind of, spill the tea over all the things that used to happen in the newsroom and your new endeavors. Because these new chapters are sweet. They're different, but they're sweet in their own way. For sure.
Thanks for having me. This is so much fun. And it's really great to just share all of it. There's the good, the bad, what's next, the moving forward. And it's all part of the journey. But, the pod stays together. We all stay connected. And that's what matters.
Definitely join us on the Patreon for some behind the scenes stuff. If you guys are watching, thank you. Join the Honey Pod Buzz on Instagram, and then join me on Instagram and YouTube and Spotify.
Follow.
All the places, all the plugs.
Thanks for watching Honey Pod. To join more of this conversation, head to Patreon.